So Tesla stock has absolutely been climbing out of the chart, and this is exactly what I shared what was likely to take place both within the Push and Profit private group, but also publicly here on YouTube. I mentioned how we were gonna wanna ride the wave of Tesla stock as we get closer to October 10th with the Robo-Taxi event. And while Tesla stock is indeed pushing up, we're starting to see a lot of individuals starting to look like this as they're upset of the fact that Tesla stock is now pushing up. I mean, look at this post I saw here on X with someone saying that Tesla stock is up 75 billion in market cap over the last 3 days. They made 1.48 billion in net income last quarter! Explanation mark. What a joke. And I think the real joke here is how a lot of individuals don't understand how the market actually works and how the market is forward looking. And if you're this upset about a company pushing upwards in terms of price action, then that probably means that you're shorting a little too much and you may want to trim your position, or you missed the boat. But the reality is there's always another opportunity, so just relax. There's gonna be another opportunity. There's always something doing very well. Now, in my previous video, we talked about the Cybertrucks and we talked about how there's a lot of positive news in regards to the Cybertruck. And yes, they have a lot of controversy, or a lot of people kind of talking bad about them, but the reality is we have like this alternative data where there's this a big trend of people searching up for the Cybertrucks, and that's due to a lot of celebrity endorsements. We had Shaquille O'Neal, Kim Kardashian, Bad Bunny, Meek Mills, DaBaby, a lot of artists, a lot of famous celebrities, a lot of famous sports players endorsing the Cybertruck, and that's stirring up demand. Of course, a lot of individuals may see their favorite team or maybe one of their favorite players on the team driving a Cybertruck, and that may create some interest, but we're starting to see the narrative for the Cybertrucks kind of shift a little over here. For example, someone shared how it went from nobody will buy a Cybertruck, Tesla is doomed, to too many people want a Cybertruck, Tesla is doomed. And we had this article on the bottom saying how Tesla's Cybertruck launch is slowed by ongoing production struggles, casting a doubt on its ability to keep up with high demand. Boo-hoo, oh my gosh, this is horrible news for Tesla. Too many people want the Cybertruck and they can't keep up. It's not like eventually they're gonna ramp up production, right? Guys, eventually they're gonna go ahead and be able to scale up the Cybertrucks. It just simply takes time, and that's not necessarily such a bad problem, but there's a lot of bias towards these Cybertrucks, and I get it. We talked about it in my last video. I mean, it's insane how many people hate it. So many people hate the Cybertrucks more than Diddy hates security cameras, and that says a lot, right? But the reality is, just because you may hate something doesn't mean that it won't sell well. For example, I hate Mountain Dew. I don't know why people even drink this stuff. But the reality is people buy Mountain Dew by the case. People buy this stuff and drink it all the time. And you know, if you look at it, Mountain Dew is owned by Pepsi. You look at Pepsi stock from a yearly perspective and Pepsi's doing pretty fine. And look, I'm not a big fan of Pepsi myself. I'm a Coke guy or a Coca-Cola guy, right? You guys know what I mean. I'm a Coca-Cola guy. But the reality is people still buy Pepsi or these Pepsi products like Mountain Dew, and that's fine. I don't like them, but people will buy them. And that's the same case with the Cybertruck, right? And the reality is Tesla, you know, I talk about Tesla, and the problem that I have with Tesla when I talk about it here on YouTube is I'm a big fan of their vehicles. I'm a big fan of the robotic segments that I'm very optimistic for. Not so much of a big fan of the autonomy. We've had a lot of disappointments, and I believe we're likely to get a disappointment on October 10th, which is why I'm saying this is kind of like a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. But we'll see what ends up happening. But the truth is, Tesla makes good products, right? For example, we take a look at the Model Y, and we recently got news and how the Model Y was voted the best family car by a very popular poll. And again, I think they make great products, and I think a lot of people are gonna still continue to buy Teslas. And guess what we get next week? We get delivery numbers, and I think the narrative is gonna significantly change, as I believe there's gonna be this growth in deliveries. I mean, historically, we see a lot of growth in Q3, but I think this year-over-year growth is gonna shock a lot of individuals, and people are gonna start hopping on the Tesla board once they end up seeing that there are more deliveries taking place and the fundamentals are looking pretty juicy. Now, from a technical perspective, we also saw that Tesla did break out of this descending trend line that has been prevalent for the last 3 years. But one of the things I want to look for is just another green candle above that descending trend line, just to solidify that we are indeed in a new trend. And so if we're taking a look at things from a technical perspective, right, we kind of like to look at things from a macro and a technical perspective and combine it. You know, we're kind of in good shape here with Tesla. And something else that just recently took place is what we have going on in China. For example, China recently unveiled a massive package aimed to really stimulate their flagging economy. And this is doing well for a lot of those Chinese stocks, but it's also good news for Tesla. And the reason why I say this, right, because some people would say, oh, well, that's good for China's economy that they're basically doing this stimulus here. But this actually is good news for Tesla, as we know China is a pretty big market for Tesla. I mean, if we take a look at the deliveries over here, if you look at Q1 and Q2 of 2024, China's pretty much the second biggest group of buyers for Teslas aside from the United States. And so this big stimulus package happening in China, I mean, it's not as big as what we had in America during, you know, that time period, but this is pretty good, and this may lead to a lot more deliveries for Teslas, and Q4 may start to look even juicier. And so that's why I'm very optimistic for Tesla from a fundamental perspective as well. You have these kind of global macro environments creating a suitable environment for Tesla. Again, also in the United States, we had rate cuts starting to take place, and that's good news. And so, you know, the fundamentals are looking good. The macroeconomic environment is kind of shifting currently. And then also from a technical perspective, you know, things are breaking out. And that's why I think 2025 is going to be a great year for Tesla. And I get it. You know, people don't like the Cybertrucks. People don't like some of the things that Elon Musk is saying. But you kind of have to take away whatever bias you have for a particular product or a particular company. And at the end of the day, just look at the numbers, all right? That's all you really have to look at. Now, again, very bullish for Tesla in terms of its deliveries and what's going to take place in the car market. I'm still not convinced, and I know people are going to get upset about this, I'm still not convinced about the autonomy of the vehicles. Again, we'll have to wait and see what ends up taking place when we get that unveil of the robotaxi event. Again, it was delayed, so I'm expecting a bit more. Why was it delayed, right? Well, hopefully we see something pretty interesting. I don't want to just see a little incremental improvement in you know, FSD. I want to see actual cars that are robo-taxis that are, you know, fully capable of driving people around, and it doesn't have to be restricted to a geometric, you know, area. And hopefully there's no LiDARs, right? We talked about that, how, you know, and some of you guys mentioned, yes, Tesla does buy the LiDARs to go ahead and train their vehicles, but I'm a bit skeptical now, right? I'm hoping that, you know, these robo-taxis don't end up just being another Waymo duplicate, so that's something, you know, we'll be watching out for. And of course, something else that we'll want to pay attention to going forward is also the GDP numbers that we have coming out. And of course, we're not going to really pay attention to inflation anymore. I've kind of mentioned that again for those within the Push and Profit private group. Inflation is not really the big picture. It's the labor market. We've talked about this. And if you're interested in joining the Push and Profit private group, just check out the links in the description down below. There's a link to join. And also we have a free weekly market post. It's basically a newsletter where I send out what's going on in the overall market. So definitely check that out. It's free. Why not? Just check out that link in the description below. And before you guys go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and also check out this next video right over here. And I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care.